Life is filled with paradoxes. And one of those paradoxes is how we do things for the sake of impressing other people. Now, if I were to tell you that you shouldn't do things to impress other people, that would be, on the surface, good advice, and I do believe that. But I also believe that, being social creatures that we are, the reason why we do much of what we do is related to our relationships with others. If we do things just for our sake alone, and it has absolutely nothing to do with those around us, then why do we do it? Let's say, for example, we'll talk about the way I dress myself. Now, if I get up in the morning and I think to myself, how can I dress up in a way that's going to impress other people? That's a really juvenile approach, and it's kind of ridiculous. And I'm going to make a caricature of myself by trying to impress people who I shouldn't be trying to impress. But if I am going to spend my day inside my house and I'm not going to see anybody, and I'm not going to go out anywhere, then it's totally plausible that I'm going to dress differently than I would if I was going to go out for an event on the town. And yet, I wouldn't say that dressing up in a normal way because I'm going to be out in public is exactly me trying to impress anybody. It's just appropriate. And it's that way with everything in life. We have, on one hand, a need to avoid trying to impress people for their own sake, but also a need to be aware that the things that give us value and a sense of groundedness in life are things which are connecting us to others. Let's take Albion as an example, why I like this game. On one hand, I don't really play this game to impress other players. I don't really care what other players are doing. I don't really play the game in any competitive capacity. I just play it the way I want to. And I am totally able to do that, which I like. And yet, the reason why I'm drawn to this game versus other games, like maybe a um, single player farming game like Stardew Valley or Coral Island or some of these other games I've played that I think are pretty cool, is because Albion is set in a shared world where the things that I do as an individual, maybe not trying to impress other players, not for other players, but the things that I do essentially for my own personal experience, still play a role in the economy of others. So the things that I'm gathering right here, right now, they're ultimately going to take the form of crafted items that other players will be using in the broader game. So even if I'm not really invested in what other players are doing, things I do passively are an investment in others. And that's kind of a good example. It's not me playing for others, and yet the fact that others are there is a big reason of why I want to play. Now, in life, it's kind of hard to strike that balance because, on one hand, you don't want to live your life trying to impress other people. That's going to be a bad ending. But you also do want to be mindful of your audience. I've thought about this as I contemplate the idea of making videos. On one hand, I think it's really useful, especially to me being, new and not really having the viewership. The videos I make, I kind of just make for my own personal enjoyment. I do it more for probably myself initially than I do for people that are going to be watching the video um, after I post it. If they do, they do. But really, I do it for myself. That's first and foremost. But at the same time, I have to obviously know that what I'm doing is trying to figure out how to make content that others would want to see. And the funny thing there is that people do want to see content that somebody makes with them in mind. But people don't really want to see content that's purely just a performance. Maybe, to a point, you might. But the ones that really stick with you, the content that really speaks to you, is going to be the stuff that people do more for themselves, and they're sharing a personal experience, something that's important regardless of the viewership. And then if there's viewers, that's great. When somebody's just a performer, they're just there purely for the purpose of trying to figure out how to get views and how to get attention. There's something really shallow about that. We've all gone to see plays and performances which are designed specifically for an audience. And they can be nice, they can be beautifully choreographed, things like that. But they're not genuine in the same way as something that is designed in itself to be an authentic experience, and you're just able to kind of look in the window and see something real that others are sharing with you. And we can see the popularity of this in a lot of things that have popped up, like Twitch videos, for example, on the streaming of video games and things like that. We see people will just tune in to watch somebody playing a game. There's other things like kind of silly stuff, like people have live streams of themselves just sitting around in their room and sleeping in the corner and stuff like that too, because people like the idea of somebody else's reality being shared with them in a personal way. It gives that sense of meaningful connection, whether that's an illusion or not, beside the point. But people like it. And it again plays back into that seeming paradox that's important to remember in life, that you want to do what you're doing for yourself because you want to be authentic. And if you're not authentic, you really have nothing else to go off of. But you also want to do what you're doing with a mindfulness of your audience. And one thing that I've found that I really like quite a bit is the idea of kind of imagining that I have an audience even when I don't, all throughout my everyday life. Because when you don't think you have any audience, when you're just after work, you're sitting there vegetating in the corner or something like that, you tend to be totally unproductive. You waste time. You just have absolutely no sense of groundedness and direction. But as soon as you start to think somebody might be watching what I'm doing, then you're so much more mindful about doing things in a deliberate and thoughtful way. Even if it's not so much that you're getting a great deal done, you're just a little bit more able to prioritize the things you're doing, and you're a little bit more purposeful than you might be otherwise. Right now, in this game I'm playing, I'm just kind of running around doing random stuff. This isn't planned out. And yet, I know I'm making a video right now. So, I'm a little more thoughtful about what I'm doing. I'm a little bit more connected and invested, I guess, than I would be maybe if I wasn't making the video. If I was just sitting there by myself doing whatever, then maybe I would just be watching a YouTube video on the side, AFK on the other screen, you know? And getting away from some of those things that are just maybe distractions where you are kind of tired, you're on autopilot, you're not thinking about what you're doing, you're just not really mindful in the moment. I think if you can cut some of that stuff out and then maybe imagine you have that hypothetical audience that's watching you. There's a Bible verse that I like, and I'm going to close with this. It says that, wherefore, as we have a great cloud of witnesses, therefore let us run the race with patience and diligence. Essentially, what it's saying is that kind of, I guess maybe the saints or those who've gone before us or something like that are watching. And therefore, because we have all of these, if you will, spirits that are watching us um, in this realm beyond, you might think you're alone, but really you have this cloud of witnesses who are watching you. That's kind of the idea there. Because you have always a cloud of witnesses that are watching you, you should always be invested in doing the right thing. And that should be true, that you kind of live your life as if somebody was watching all the time. And no, I'm not saying that, you overthink it and say, well, I wouldn't want people watching me go to the bathroom or something like that. That's not really the point I'm making here. Uh, the point I'm getting at is if you always kind of live your life consciously as if you had an audience, then maybe that's a motivation to cut out some of the waste, some of the things that you would regret in your life, to be more purposeful, to be more deliberate, and to ultimately be more happy and productive as an individual. And if you do that, then you're also investing in really truly being a better, I guess, a better content creator in life. You're more likely to be doing things that are going to be inspiring to other people. And it all plays into you're investing in yourself by doing something that's meaningful to you. And the end result is you wind up investing in other people, because when you do things that are a good investment in yourself and you share those things, that's an experience that enriches other people's lives as well. Thank you for watching.